What's shaking, everybody? My name is Ross Mandell. I'm coming to you guys live today from Delray Beach, Florida, Scott Woolley Studios. And you know, I've got a very special guy to introduce you all to today. You know, he's probably the most special of anybody we've had on the show to date. He has a world-class, top-rated podcast called Mick Unplugged. If you don't know it, you got to know it now. He is literally a beast in sheep's clothing. He is really a remarkable young man. I've become a huge fan of his. He's recently written and published a book. Let me just show you that book. How to Be a Good Leader. I mean, when you've never really had one, I mean, that is just the title. I didn't get it at first, but I've actually read this book, and I don't read many books. I promote guys that write books, but this is such a special man. Everything he does is so thoughtful. I want you guys to help me welcome the Mick Hunt.
Thanks for having me, mentor. Thank you so much for this time and this opportunity. I don't know about all the accolades. You know, you and I are a lot alike, man. Like, we just want to make impact in the world. And if I can make impact, that's what I'm going to do. And, you know, I'll be honest and say this. A lot of the things that are the core of me are because of people like you who've instilled things into my life. So if I'm a beast, you're the blueprint of that beastness, brother.
Thank you so much. We're going to hopefully get to all that. But I just want to say what you've accomplished just in the last couple of years in sort of a new industry. I mean, podcasting, social influencing, content creation. You know, it's a new category recognized by Forbes because of Mr. Beast, the first billionaire content creator who surpassed, you know, Tom Cruise in a period of just a few years. And Cruise has devoted his life, and we all know how spectacular. But when it comes to just financial gain, the podcast world, content creation has become incredible thing. And so what moved you to start podcasting?
I didn't want to. What I actually wanted to do, Ross, was create YouTube content. And so, you know, I've got this thing on your because that kind of challenges your why. And so I wanted to get the message behind because, tell my story a little bit. And two of my really good friends have had podcasts for several years. And they were like, Mick, the best way to do this is podcasting. And I had to be honest with them, Ross. I was like, I don't listen to podcasts. I've been guest on their podcast, and I never listened to their show or even the episode I was on. But then I had a conversation with two people. I had a conversation with Les Brown, who was like a father figure to me, and a conversation with my best friend in the world, Robert Irvine. And they both said, Mick, you're missing the mark on where the podcast industry is and where it's going. You need to think bigger, challenge yourself, and do a damn podcast. And so that is literally how it all started. It started with wanting to do YouTube content, but then studying the podcast industry and where it's going. And Ross, you know me because you told me this. Everything I do, I don't do as a side hustle, I do as a business. And so I said, I'm going to understand the business of podcasting and really treat it like one of my other four companies. And that's what I did. And I would say that's part of the success, was treating it like a business.
When did you start podcasting? When did it all start for you? Like what year?
March of 2024.
What? You just really started?
March of 24. Absolutely.
Wow. That's an incredible accomplishment, bro, because you're so good at it. I just want you to know. I had the privilege of being on your podcast.
Yes.
Like, I want to say about a year ago. It was probably not, maybe 10 months.
Yeah.
I don't remember. And I'm so new at this. But I'm learning, you know, it's not rocket science for me. I'm a communicator.
Right.
You're a world-class communicator.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say for anyone that's listening that you're trying to figure out if podcasting is for you, or you've got a show and you're trying to figure out next level, Make it about your guest. Everything I do is about my guest. And I let them tell their stories just like you do as well. And to me, that's the key. People don't want to hear Mick in 200 episodes talk about Mick all the time. People don't want to hear Ross in 200 episodes talk about Ross all the time. You've got to make it about your guests and their unique stories or their unique insights. That's what keeps people coming back. And so that was always the premise of my show. Whether I'm talking to a celebrity or my next door neighbor that no one knows, like everyone has a relatable story. Everyone's overcome something. Everyone's going through a challenge. And that's what we talk about.
You know, I suppose if you get a chance to be a guest on your show, then you're right. It should be. It's obviously like anybody that gets on my show is special.
Right.
Sometimes I want to put somebody on and my team says, no.
Right.
You know, call them from home and FaceTime them.
There you go.
But I'm like, you know, it's there is a business aspect to these things, right? Anything worth doing,
right,
is worth doing for some money. You know, as long as.
And that's what it was for me. I mean, again, if your name wasn't Joe Rogan or Mel Robbins, or you were like true crime, I thought you did it because you just loved talking and you loved interviewing people. When I found out that there was money that could be made, when I found out that there's rankings that are involved, like I wanted to understand what moved those needles. And if people can make money, I want to make money too. I mean, that's just what we do, right? And I love it. It's gone from being what I thought would be a hobby to is one of my most profitable businesses, for sure. But again, to everybody that's listening or watching, regardless of what you're doing, I don't care if it's podcasting, I don't care if you're selling Bitcoin, I don't care if you're trading cards, whatever it is, treat it like a business. Because if not, you're gonna want more than you actually give. And that's the worst thing you can do. You've got to give more if you want to expect more. And if you want to expect more, then you can earn more. But it all starts with you've got to give more.
Yeah, you know, for me, it was initially a way to meet people, for a new business I'm building, but it's turned into something more now. You know, people are entertained, they're educated. You deliver better content than any one of the big networks that I occasionally listen to. You're a fantastic interviewer, and now you're 47 years old.
Yep.
Okay, and you weren't always the fabulous Mick Hunt that I'm sitting with right now.
No, I was not. Yesterday, I was not.
and you know, I had the privilege to read your book, How to Be a Good Leader. I just want you to see. I guess the publisher's Wiley.
Yeah.
Very credible publishing company. We'll get to that, but you know, you basically start your story. It's you and your mom. Christmas Eve.
Yep.
You're 10 years old.
Yep.
And something happens, but I'm not sure what it was. And so if you don't mind, just bring us to the beginning and let's talk about this because, you know, I'm very curious. I'm waiting to find out some things that I assumed, which is a good thing, right? If you're a writer, you want to read it you want to instigate thought, curiosity, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, the moment that you're referencing in the book, I start by saying at 10 years old, Christmas Eve morning, you know, everybody should be happy. But I woke up with my mom crying on the edge of my bed. And I knew what those tears meant. And so now I'm going to go behind the scenes into what's not in the book, right? So what did those tears represent, Ross? For the first 10 years of my life, every day, the first memory I have of life, I was 4 years old. And I can literally remember every day of my life from 4 years old. My dad was abusing my mom. And that was an everyday occurrence, whether it was physically, emotionally, financially, sometimes even sexually. I saw it every day. But I knew that shouldn't be normal, and I never accepted it as normal. To live in a 2-parent household, but to essentially be raised as a single mom, That's what life was like for me. And so my mom never really cried in front of me. I knew she cried. I could hear the cries. But this day she was crying in front of me.
Mm.
And I knew what that took for her to do that. Because it was Christmas. It was holiday season. Everybody should be happy. We're going to go do the family thing Christmas Eve like everyone else is. Christmas Eve, dinner at your grandparents. We do the big gift exchange. I've got a huge family. But it wasn't going to sit right. And so I made a promise. But at first I asked my mom to leave. I said, you take my sister and you guys leave. And I'll deal with the monster that is my dad. Like, I'll deal with abuse. I'll deal with whatever. And my mom looked at me and said, because I love you, I can't do that. And so I got angry, Ross. Like, I got mad. Like, I literally was like, I'm giving you an out. I'm giving you the escape route and you won't do it. And I got mad, like literally mad for the first time in my life. And I went to go punch a wall and my mom grabbed me and she said, no. And she said, we're going to figure this out. And so I made a promise to her that day that I would figure it out, that I would deal with all the consequences, that I would somehow get her out of this so that she could smile again. Ross, I don't know if everybody that's listening or watching can understand going 10 plus years with your mom not smiling.
Wow.
Right? Like to see fear every day is tough. And I'm not talking, this isn't a movie scene. This isn't some story that's written in a book. This is real life for me.
Real life.
This is real life. To not see your mother smile, to see her scared every day from her husband, who is in the same household as you as well. And I said, okay, I'm going to start to study my dad. So at 10 years old, I started to study, we would call it emotional intelligence now, right? But I started to study his movements, what triggered him. When he got certain triggers, what emotions were brought out of him, the good and the bad. Because if I understood the bad, then I would know how to make more good. And if that would make household tensions not disappear, but alleviated a little bit so that my mom could sleep at night, so that my mom could smile, so that my sister wouldn't have to hear certain things that a 6, 7-year-old shouldn't hear, then that's what I did. And so when I would sense that my dad was going to get upset with my mom, I would put it on me, right? I would say, okay, I need to do something so that he gets angry at me, because the worst I'm going to get is a belt, right? Or punishment, right? Like, I don't want my mom to get a fist or a hand slap or to be belittled. Like, I didn't want that. Like, I could deal with it all. And so at 10, Ross, I grew up really fast, man. Like at 10, I probably operated like I was a 20-year-old because I had to. When I was 15, I promise you I was a fully grown man, and my dad and I had conversations, and he knew I was a full grown man, and none of that shit was going to happen again, bro. But like, that's the backstory to that morning.
I assumed that was something to that effect, but you're such a good person. You're so, you're conscious and aware of things that most people just don't pay attention to. You really are like very detail oriented in the way you speak, the words you choose, the way you conduct yourself. This is my take on you. And you were very cautiously expressing that without going there. I don't know if your parents are still alive or not. Yep. And tell me about yourself physically. How tall a guy are you? How much do you weigh?
I am 5'9", 240, but working my way down to 220.
240. I see you look like a big kid under that shirt. You got your Mick Unplugged merch. That's great. I love that color, by the way.
Thank you. I'll send you one.
I want one. XL. And
got you.
I'm 5'9" as well. But so you're physically a somewhat big guy. You look thick. You were an athlete, correct?
Yes, sir.
So your dad, he had anger issues, or was he a drinker, or?
No, again, these terms, I didn't know at
Right,
10.
right.
I didn't know growing up.
You were
But
10 years old when you came to this. I mean,
yeah,
to listening to you today, I realized that you're a problem solver. You're looking to solve this problem. Your mother had said, "I'm not leaving,"
yeah.
and
And I said,
until
okay.
until I
Then,
heard you just now, I thought the opposite. I thought that she wanted to leave, and you were begging her to stay. That was my take when I read the book.
no, I wanted her to leave.
I understand.
And, and, you phrased or you asked, like, my dad, like, I would say today, looking back, my dad was a narcissist. Like, did he drink? Yeah, but he wasn't like, he drank on the weekends and not every weekend, right? But my dad was very self-centered, definitely anger management issues, definitely a narcissist. And I worked really hard not to be those things. To this day, I work really hard not to be those things, right? Like biology, genetics, right? Some things naturally
Right.
are going to pass through. So I work hard consciously to not be that person. So, growing up with a dad who at the snap of a finger could go from laughing to not just anger, Ross, but hatred. And there's a difference between anger and hate.
Huge
And
difference. Yeah.
and that hate was deep. I tell people all the time, like I was the kid that would go to football practice with my coaches and team, and then would have to come home and have practice again with my dad because he would be at practice and said, I did this wrong or you didn't do that right. But here's the weird thing, Ross. I didn't resent it. It made me a part of who I am, right?
It sure did.
But I can look back now and say, oh wow, like yeah, I did that. But growing up, I didn't think about it. It was just my
Right.
dad wanted me to be perfect, and I wasn't perfect. And he let me know that I wasn't perfect. And so football practice, we're going to go do this drill. Basketball practice, you're going to go make 500 shots in a row before you can go to bed. And sometimes it would be the next morning before it was that
Wow.
time. But that's what life was like, man, growing up. And again, some of those principles are great, but most of them I try to work to make sure I don't have.
You didn't get positive reinforcement, you're saying. Is that fair to say?
No, I didn't know what that was until I was in my 30s, brother.
I understand that, I understand that. It's just fascinating, that we go through this. And I hope people listen to you right now and understand, because a lot of people they blame their parents, their dad, their mom, their circumstances, instead of owning their past and moving forward anyway. There's no
Yeah.
there's no excuses that are valid to me. I went
No.
to I was thrown in prison
Yep.
for nothing, for something that didn't happen, that I didn't do. And I'm big deal. Guess what? What am I doing today? I'm not in prison right now, right? I mean, so there's so many things that people, make excuses. Now there are what I call explanations. There's reasonable stuff that happens along the way, along this journey we call life.
Yeah.
But you didn't make excuses. You're a
No, I
natural
figured
problem
it out,
solver.
man.
You're a
I,
natural
I
problem
figured it
solver.
out. Absolutely. At 10 years old, Ross, in my mind, did I want to kick my dad's ass? Absolutely. But
Wow.
at 10 years old, I physically couldn't do that. And also, regardless of what you feel, and I talk about this in history, right? Like, regardless of what you feel about the president of the country at any given time, and I'm not talking about Trump, at any given time, who the president is, go back 50 years, whatever you feel, they're still the president. And there's a respect factor that we have to give. And so that was the same thing in my household. Like, did I like my dad growing up? Absolutely not. But he was also my father, though.
He was your
You know what I
father.
mean?
Yeah,
Like, I
do.
ate every night. I had clothes on my back, right? Like, the lights were on every day. So those are the things that is like, I respected that, but I could still not respect the individual, if that makes sense. I can respect the authority, but not the individual. And so to the problem solving, I had to figure out within the rules of the game that I had. I was 10 years old. And as you get older, the rules can change a little bit. But I understood the rules of engagement, the rules of the game, and I could operate within those rules. Right? Again, at 10, I couldn't go beat my dad up. I couldn't cuss my dad out. I was 10. He was my father. So I had to understand, how can I control what I can control and still protect what's most important to me, which is my mom and my sister.
Now, you're always a hard worker. I mean, you were an athlete. You took pride in that. The language that you used, you were a student. You were a good student, right? You got A's. You said B's were unacceptable. That was my house. I was like that.
Yeah. I couldn't bring home anything less than an A. And so I don't know why, because it wasn't like that was who my parents were. But again, you respect the authority, you respect the title. So if the minimum standard, and you know what, Ross, I believe in standards, right? So if the standard was an A, that was the standard I had to uphold. So yeah, there was no such things as B's or C's in the house.
I love it. And you brought that same sort of diligence into your business life. So tell us, you go to college.
Yeah.
You got a scholarship? You got into college?
Academic scholarship to the University of North Carolina, the greatest university on earth. Yes.
Listen, I was a Maryland Terrapin, so I could take issue with that.
Hey, we were the ACC
together. Rivals.
Exactly.
You had Michael Jordan eventually. I mean, I can't say anything about that. James Worthy, national title.
Yeah.
We had Len Bias, overdosed on cocaine.
You had Lenny B. Yeah.
But it's a beautiful, beautiful campus. Fantastic university.
Yeah.
And tell us about, you left home now. You're on your own.
Yeah. I go to college away from home. So, I grew up in South Carolina, go to school in UNC. My sophomore year, my parents actually divorced, so things were good.
Wow.
Yeah. So life is completely different now in that aspect of home. But in school, I went in thinking that I wanted to be a physical therapist. Like, that was kind of what I wanted to do. And then in 1997, my sophomore year, Bill Clinton redid the healthcare program, and it pretty much did away with individual therapists. Like, Ross, growing up, it was not uncommon to see, like, we have dentist office and chiropractors now. Like, you would see physical therapy offices right there. Well, now it's a part of the hospital system. Right. You have to have a referral to go to therapy. So once that changed, I didn't want to go to med school for 8 years, but I knew I wanted to own businesses. And so I changed my major from physical therapy to business and communications. And as they say, the rest is history. Like, what I realized was life is about how you make people feel in those moments. Every successful business person that I know and that make people feel really, really good, right? They're business savvy, and sometimes they're business cutthroat, but they still care about people. And I think a lot of times we confuse that, right? Like, you might see a Kevin O'Leary and see, oh, he's a hard ass on Shark Tank. Yeah, he is. But he still gives a damn about his people, though, right? And his business partners. And so I think I learned that at an early age, that it's about networking. It's about being in the right places. It's about being connected to the right people. And so I started my career as a sales manager for a nationwide insurance agent. So I'm 22 years old. I just got my MBA, knew nothing about insurance, but I knew connection, networking, and people. And so we went from being one of the top 15, 20 agencies in the state of North Carolina to being the number one agency in the country.
That's crazy. That's
in 5
crazy.
years.
That's right in the book. That's crazy. That's quite an accomplishment.
Yeah. But, again, what I understood was you could go sell one policy here and one policy there, or you can get in front of a lot of people, or you can make sure that you know your business strength, your business strategies, and get in front of the right person, if that makes sense. So I did that. But also what I realized, Ross, was that while helping someone build their dreams, I still have my own. And so I took a leap of faith and I moved to Florida, didn't know anyone there, started my own agency, and 3 years later sold it for $16-17 million.
What year was that? Do you remember the offhand?
2011.
and you got your first big wire. Is that fair to say? I mean, you were making money, obviously.
Yeah, it's different when you wake up and look in the bank account and see like 2 commas, right? Like that's different. That's
When you
different.
see millions of dollars, yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
yeah. When you
very
see
different.
2 commas, that's yours,
It's
right? Like
correct, and
that's different.
it's a very different
Yeah,
experience. When you get a chunk of equity, of
right,
capital.
right,
It's
right.
it's a different type of feeling, and for those of you that have not experienced that, I would urge you to keep chasing, because that's a ring that you want to attain. That's a level you really want to experience.
Absolutely.
That somebody felt you were worthy of that wire. It's another whole, you know, interesting dynamic. But
Hmm.
so you are in 2011. How old were you when you got that wire?
I was 32, 33.
So you're a multimillionaire, it's fair to say, at that point,
Yes,
right?
yes,
About 15 years
absolutely.
ago.
Yep.
And you sold the company that you had built, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And it was quite an achievement. But did you have your hands in other pots at that time as well when you sold, or you just basically woke up one morning, you had a lot of money, and you were thinking about what am I going to do next?
It was that part. It was
Yeah.
the latter. I didn't have my hands. I wasn't diverse,
Right.
Ross.
Well,
I wasn't diverse then.
most guys are not when they first. People don't
Yeah.
understand. There is no balance when you're a high level entrepreneur
No.
trying to achieve
No.
a $10 million plus
Right.
exit. You have
Right.
to devote pretty much all your waking time. And when you're sleeping, you're thinking about it as well. Sometimes I
Yeah.
wake up in the morning and I realize my mind was working all night, even though I was sleeping. 'Cause
Yeah.
I got all these answers all of a sudden. But,
Exactly.
but, so now what? 2011, you're pretty mixed. We call you Mick is thick.
Yeah. Thick
That's the
Mick. Right.
chapter.
So so I sell the business, and I have a year that I have a non-compete, but really what I wanted to do was make sure the business that I sold was also stable and wasn't going anywhere, right? Like I was doing the right thing.
That's nice.
So 2012, into 2012 rolls around, and I take over like a large MGA or a large broker, still in the insurance space. I inherited about 50 million of revenue. And I always tell people the one part of the story. I inherited 50, and 4 years later it grew to 70 million. But what most people don't understand or don't know, Ross, is I had 50. I purposely got rid of $15 million worth of business because it didn't fit. Like we couldn't scale. And I'm all about scaling. Everything I've ever done is to take you from here. And instead of going incrementally, I'm trying to go rocket ship style scaling because business isn't as challenging as we think. So in order to scale, I had to get rid of some things that didn't fit that were taking up all of our service time, right? Like we all hear that 80% of your problems come from 20% of your customers. Well, I got rid of the 20% of the customers that were causing 80% of the problems,
I get it.
right?
Yep.
Like you can talk about it, you can identify it, but nothing changes if you don't do something about it. And that's where most businesses go wrong. Like they identify the 80-20 rule really quick, but they don't do anything about it. They try to outgrow. And I'm like, you can't outgrow the problem. You have to get rid of the problem.
Sometimes
right?
you got to cut. You got to be a surgeon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got rid of 15 million of revenue. So we're at 35. The board of directors look at me like, are you sure this is going to work? Can you really do this? Well, 4 years later, we went from 35 million to 70 million. And at that point, I said, what I want to do with my life is show businesses and individuals how to do this. Scaling isn't hard. It's just the work, right? It's the work. It literally is. Every business that we know, I mean, you look at what social media and we look at what podcasts, and we talked about that earlier, has done for people. I mean, there are people that make serious money on social media because they do the work.
No question.
And people try to replicate it, but they don't want to do the work or they want instant gratification, right? And so I teach people, I teach businesses, one, how to scale, and then how to build the right culture or leadership team that can help you go to that next level. And Business is that simple. It's the mindset, it's the ethic, it's the structure, and then it's the team. And in whatever order you want to put that in. But that's how you scale. Nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah, sometimes it's as an outsider looking in, it's very easy to identify issues when you're actually, in the jungle and you're operating. You don't get to really see the jungle. It's like when you're in a box, you don't really know what the box looks like. You take 2 steps away from the box, you're looking, and you say, I understand. I see this. This guy's a problem. That's an issue. Why are we not spending more time on this? This seems to be where the gold is coming from. So, no, I understand that, but you are a very calm young man. And I feel like it goes back to that 10-year-old kid. That 10-year-old kid that, was protective of his mother and afraid for his mother, not for himself.
Yeah.
You're afraid for her, and you're calculating, you're thinking, you're measuring. You got to leave, take my sister. I'll stay. I'll work it out. I know later on a brother comes in, a younger brother, almost like when you're leaving for college, I think, if I remember.
2 days before I left for college.
Yeah. I just it was very interesting.
Yeah.
And all from the same dad, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Trying to understand. And I urge you all to take a look and read this book. I'm just going to say he breaks down, Mick, like he's not sitting right here. You break down the using real life examples. These are the names of the people that you coach, correct?
Absolutely.
These people hired. You probably asked them permission, right, to be in the book?
Absolutely.
Right.
A lot of waivers and NDAs.
To use your stories, right. And you weave a tale of real life stuff that you engineered in your real life. It's not just a bunch of, theory.
No.
One of the things is that I've learned over the years. I'm a little bit older, fortunately. One day I woke up and I'm the oldest guy in the room all the time. It's the craziest thing. I used to be the young cat that had a higher gray hairs because I was a little wild and edgy, and everybody, I always had a bunch of gray hairs around. Now all of a sudden I'm the gray hair. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But when you study leadership, self-improvement, trying to become great, all these great, these sort of topics, these Tony Robbins kind of, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, all these famous books in a space, you look and you realize that there's really nothing new. It's the same, principles that have held true for thousands of years since the beginning of man. Very smart guys have thought this out. And you're not going to be outsmarting. You're not going to find some new aha thing. But it's how you piece them together.
Right.
And you do so in a very sort of homey way that makes it comfortable for the reader to digest. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not like you're not quoting Socrates and Plato, Carnegie. You're really talking about regular people in this book. And you're telling us where they're from, what their company was. And, they brought you in for some reason and they saw something in you, attracted them. I could see it now. I see it. And, you were able to, with clarity, you have a lot of clarity in between those ears of yours. And, you were able to deliver results.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. And when we talk about core values, like that's actually one of my core values is results matter and I deliver them. Right? Like you're not going to hire me if I don't know that I can deliver results. I will tell you. There are companies I walk away from because it's like I'm not the one for you, right? But when we come into an agreement, when we lock it in, like my job is to deliver results and that's it. And that's what I am most passionate about is delivering results. And when we talk about the book, I appreciate the accolades that you gave me for that because that's how I wanted to write it. I wanted to write it selfishly so that my kids would read it. Like
It's
I didn't
great.
want my kids to feel like they were in school reading the book, and I wanted them to understand the connection that was there. So I actually wrote this book for my kids.
I get it. It's very much like that. Look. Here's who I am.
Yeah.
Here's my reason. Here's why I am what I am, and I think the way I do. And
Yeah.
this is how I became and accomplished. And you take the reader on a journey, but a
Yeah.
very easy to follow a long journey. And I love that. I love that you're a plain speaking fellow.
I appreciate that, man. And that's why the title of the book is How to Be a Good Leader
Yeah,
versus a Great Leader, right? Like, and it's in the book, but greatness is someone else's opinion. Greatness is self-validation. Everybody can be good.
right.
You don't have to look for validation to do the right thing to be good. When you strive for greatness, and I'm not saying that that's necessarily wrong, but you should be good first, right? In order to be a winning person, you have to first know how to win to then be called a winner. And then you repeat it and now you are winning. And so that's, to me, that's the evolution of good to great. Like just continue to be good. And at some point, someone will say you were great, but just be good.
Right.
As long as you stack up goodness, someone else will say you were great. And then you can say what you want to with that.
And you express the difference. I mean, there's a whole chapter
Right.
titled, I believe I remember. It was a whole,
Yeah.
and I'm like, this is interesting,
Yeah.
And I certainly got that. I've strived for greatness in anything I do. Otherwise, I just do it. I teach my kids. I say, look, how you do anything is how you do everything.
Yes, sir.
And so if you're going to do something, strive for greatness.
That's right.
And you're right. You have to be good. Otherwise, you're not even in the running for great, right? I mean, but the
That's
way
it.
you explain it and break it down is very clever. And, I would not give you these false accolades. I would find different things to compliment you on, but it's really, I really did appreciate the way you presented your topic. And I referenced it to a member of my team. Now let's talk about you. You're married.
Yep.
So in 2011, you wake up and there's a wire for millions in your account. Were you married at the time?
To my first wife, yes.
Okay. And I'm sure she was very excited you got that wire. If you were still
More
with her.
excited than me, yes.
Yes, the women are always
Yes.
more excited. It's like
Not in a bad way. Not in a bad way at all.
well, in every way, it's a good, it's a wonderful
Yeah,
thing,
for
that you
sure.
could bring joy to a partner. Like a
Right.
marriage is a partnership.
Absolutely.
It's actually a legal partnership, more and more
Right.
so. But it's a lovely thing for one member of a partnership to be able to deliver that for the whole partnership.
Right.
Right? It was 100% from your efforts. And I'm not saying she didn't give you. She have children with her or
I have 3 children, yes.
with the first wife.
Correct.
Okay, I'm afraid to ask how many times were you married? Just 2 or 3 or 5?
Two.
All right. I've had some guests that were really, really wild. I have to tell you the truth. I have one guest. He was married 3 times to the same woman.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know whether to give him props or what a marriage that is. What a wild,
Right.
look at what went on in that house. But I'm
Yeah, they
just
had to
saying,
divorce. They couldn't just sleep in a different bed for a few weeks.
I was
They
going
had
to
to
say,
just completely shut it off.
just get a separate apartment or something. That's what I did. But
Right.
it's wild. So you got divorced. You were how old? I'm just trying to understand.
Oh, divorce 40, I think.
Because I'm thinking a
39.
man like you holds family and matrimony in the highest regard, right? I mean,
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, like, there was nothing bad, like nothing happened in the relationship. I think we just realized that like happiness and fulfillment wasn't us. Um, but there was never a moment where something happened. I think we just over time just started realizing like, wait, we don't like hanging out together. Like, not that we hated hanging out, but it was like, I'm going to go watch sports, and I could watch sports 24/7 and forget that people are in the room, right? Like my oldest son and I, like, we go just watch sports all day. And again, not that that's bad or whatever, but we just realized that we didn't have as much in common. And so the whole thing of growing old together probably wasn't going to happen, because when the kids leave, like when the kids are
Right.
in college and gone, like, what are we going to do? And I think it was just kind of that aha. But like, no, I mean, she's a great human, a great soul. Like, there's not a negative thing I could ever say about my ex-wife. So
You'll always love her.
for sure.
But it's about friendship and being common interests, common goals.
Right.
Being in love is different.
Right.
How old when you got married the first time?
27.
Okay, young man, but
Yep.
always on the come up.
Yes.
You were already successful, correct?
Correct.
As they say, you're bringing home the bacon.
Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
you were
Bro,
good.
I could tell you stories, Ross, man. Like, imagine being 23, 24, 25, making good six figures. Like, when people say six figures, they immediately think of 100 grand. I just don't say a million because I wasn't making a million, but I was making more than 100 grand, right?
I
Like,
understand.
good six figures. Literally every Friday. This was way back in the day when you could go to Vegas for like $99. And if you go to Vegas enough, right, like, they start comping your rooms because you're always coming. And
Of course.
there's some things you can do with casinos. I won't tell these tricks and tips, but there's some things that you can make it appear like you're gambling when you're really not, right? But imagine being 23, 24, 25, Ross, and every Friday go to Vegas, come back Monday morning so you could go to work. Like, literally, I would be at the office at 8:15 every Monday morning. But every weekend I was in Vegas. Like, it was wild. It was cool. It was fun.
From South Carolina?
From North Carolina.
North Carolina. Holy moly. Yeah, that's a real trip.
Yeah.
But I want you to know, I was a young stockbroker in New York City, so I can relate more than you know.
There you go. So you get it.
Much more than you know.
I told you were my blueprint. I told you.
I was as wild as they get, but you were right up there. I mean, it's we lived a different type of life, men like us. People don't understand. Like, if they did it one time, they talk about it like, when I was a kid, I did this. I'm like, I did that like 3 times a month.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, it's like,
we're earners, right? We're earners.
We're earners, and we have different stories, right? It's like, you can go into, you remember the time Wayne Newton slapped Frank Sinatra? like we saw cool stories that people don't ever see, man. It's like, it's wild.
You feel bad really talking about it sometimes. I do. Because,
Right.
You know, I mean,
and I never saw Wayne Newton slap Frank Sinatra. So just to clear that up, I don't want anybody
allegedly.
Right.
Now, so you get this wire, and then you go right. You wait a year.
Yep.
You're chilling like a villain, just you know, thinking about life, right? And you end up going sort of back in the business.
Yeah, I stay in insurance, heading up a brokerage that was trying to figure out how to scale. They had some new products, some new things they were working on, and so that was my assignment, I'll say, was to figure this out. And I knew then, like, that wasn't going to be long term, because I started understanding with the wire, as you call it, oh, there's other things I could do, right? Like, now I need to be diverse. Now I need to look at properties. Now I need to look at, how do I become a minority owner in other businesses? How do I invest and do those things? So I knew that wasn't going to be like a 10, 15-year run. I also didn't know it was only going to be a 4-year run. But once I doubled the income of a decent-sized business in 4 years, that's when I realized, oh, my actual calling is to show people how to do this. And so then I started focusing on my calling, which was, again, the scaling strategies, the leadership strategies, the culture strategies in businesses, because at the end of the day, that's what makes businesses go. I don't care if you're a solopreneur or you're a Fortune 100, those are the same principles that every business has. And so how can I help you put the focus on as my mentor, Ross Mandell, will say, how do I get you to focus on the good shit and not the bullshit, right? That's what I was really trying to help businesses and entrepreneurs and people understand. Because today we live in a world where we're easily distracted. I think everybody has ADD or ADHD, whatever we call it now. Like everyone has it because that's what society's given us, right? Like you've got a phone, you've got a tablet, you've got an alert, you've got a notification. So we're wired now to always be on the lookout for something. Well, how do you focus? Keep the main thing, surround yourself with the right people, the right networks, the right connections to elevate you as a human. And then if you have a business, elevate your business as well.
I love that. I love that. Again, you're a very clear thinker. you manage to, and you talk about it in the book, the ability to it's funny, you brought up Kevin O'Leary earlier. I'm a fan, and he has an odd way of portraying himself, but it's good TV,
Yeah.
But he is also a very clear thinker as well.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about, Steve Jobs and Elon Musk, how they could disregard the noise.
Yeah.
How Steve Jobs could 90 all the noise in something like the industry that he built, and he could 90% of it is pure focus, and how Elon Musk is 100%. There is no, and he's on the spectrum, I believe, to some extent.
Yeah.
And you keep the noise out. You have that gift a little bit. I from what I can understand about you, you see clearly.
Yeah, man. Again, going back to the 10-year-old me, like I would have called it emotional intelligence then. It wasn't a thing. It wasn't a buzzword. It wasn't a category, but that's what it was. Like I understood myself. I understood the emotions that I had and what brought those emotions on. How do I regulate from not speaking too quickly without thinking through the words or the impact that things may have? So like I will take a pause before I respond sometimes. And my team, they love it now, but it used to drive them crazy. It's like I'd sit in a meeting and I would just pause for a minute and then I'd give a response. Or you get that email, instead of just firing off what you really feel, like think about the big picture. So for me, it's all about the big picture, being able to visualize that for me or for the situation, for the moment, and understanding that in others too. I think because of what I had to deal with my dad growing up, it really makes me pay attention to people, right? It makes me pay attention to the tells that people have. It makes me pay attention to the emotions that people have. And so I really focus on that. And then I'd say, honestly, Ross, like the biggest thing for me has been the mentors that I have, like people like you, people like Les Brown, like Damon John, like Robert Irvine, that continuously give me feedback, give me structure, don't always pat me on the back, will tell me when I did something wrong, will show me a better way to do something, make the cool introductions that I need when I have, like, to me, if everybody could just do one thing, and I know I'm segueing a little bit from the conversation, but everybody could just,
this is great,
could really understand the brevity of mentorship and having the right people that hold you accountable. A lot of times we think about our circle, and when you look at your circle, there's going to be people that just pat you on the back. There's going to be people that are there for the ride. There's going to be people in your circle, believe it or not, Ross, and you taught me this, that want you to fail.
Yep.
Right? But mentorship is what allowed me to see all of those things. And so reaching out to a Ross Mandell, reaching out to a Damon John, a Robert Irvine, like that's really important to me. And so this is where I'm going to tie this home. Everybody that's listening, that's watching, reach out to Ross. I can promise you he's changed things in my life. He has so much wisdom, and he's willing to tell you the stuff that's not working too. Like he's willing to say, hey, Mick, hey, I know you had this guest on your podcast. Don't release it. Like you don't know this person like I do. Or, hey, you've got this event going on. I know it's scheduled for this, but you should have a segment that focuses on this topic because this topic's driving society right now. Like little things like that, man. Or, you telling your story of the things that didn't go well for you so that hopefully other people don't have to go through it, right? Like
Yep.
you taught me, why take the stairs when there's an elevator? Like it's cool to say you took the stairs, but it's much cooler to get up there and have your energy and your focus.
There's positives and negatives in everything, right?
Right.
But I would say mentorship was the key to my success whatever I ever did in my life. I didn't know shit, Mick. My dad passed away when I was 16 and I just lost my mind. I was just angry. The point is that, the one gift that I have is that I actively sought out men and said, listen, can you help me? Can I ask you a question? And successful people love to talk about themselves. They're very happy to share. And it's interesting. Very few people turned me away. Some people did. I would knock on a door at a brokerage firm and say, can I just sit in and listen to you? And a couple of guys said no. But, I didn't get dissuaded. Finally, the right guy said yes, and he was the biggest of all the guys, the most exciting, $1 million guy. Cold calling the CEO of IBM and getting 100,000 share order for $4 million in 1985 on a cold call. I mean, so mentorship has been everything.
Yeah.
After this podcast, I'm going to ask you for help on how to grow my podcast, what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong, because, you are a pillar of success in this arena.
Yeah.
And you have achieved a level that is just brilliant. And, when my team says we researched this guy, we listened to this guy's stuff, and this is the real deal. This is the guy you need to talk to.
Yeah.
Now, my team.
Much appreciated, man.
Well, I'm telling you very truthful. I'm being very truthful. My team, my close circle of people, they're brutal on me. I got to find a new circle. You never met so many harsh people. They say if you look at the 5 people you spend the most time with in your life, it'll tell you about your life. If you hang out with 5 unemployed people, don't be shocked if you're unemployed. You know what I mean? If you hang out with 5 heroin addicts, don't be surprised if you're shooting dope soon.
There it is.
If you hang out with 5 multimillionaires, don't be surprised that you could be the 6th multimillionaire.
Right.
Right. So, my inner circle is very, very successful.
Yeah.
But they're not yes people. They don't even say nice things to me. It's like expected that I got to do stuff.
Right.
The expectation is just wild. And but it's okay. But they're my closest friends and family, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I'm excited to introduce some of them to you. But so I want to continue. So you double the revenue. You cut out like $15 million in revenue from this new venture.
Yep.
I get that. I'm a slasher and burner as well. And then that enabled you, getting rid of the junk enabled you to grow this company to a really even more respectable level, because you're talking tens of millions in sales. These are real numbers for people.
Right.
Some people they can't even really, they're dealing with tens of dollars, and we're talking about tens of millions. But that's the world we live in. And now, what happened? Did you cash out again? Did you have another exit?
I did. I had another exit because at that point I knew. Again, I wanted to make more impact. I wanted to show people how to do this. And there's some principles that I believe in that I wanted to start sharing with the world. And so I had an exit, still love the company, still talk to the new CEO, the new founders all the time. And I started a consulting firm to do that, to give. And it doesn't matter the industry. So I'm going to give, I get asked this quite a bit. Mick, how'd you do it? Right? No matter the business, how'd you scale? What's the first step? I tell people the first step is understanding who you are, right? Who are you or what's your business? If you could describe your business in 15 seconds, what would that sound like? Because if you can't do that, how can you expect someone else to understand who you are, right? Then the second thing is, what do you have? What problems do you solve? As an individual, as a business, you've got to solve problems, right? People don't pay for things that don't solve problems. And then the third is, can I trust you? And in order to build trust, this is actually my first concept of business. You have to know who your audience is, or who your ideal clients or your ideal customers are, right? And this is what separated me in insurance. Just because I sold insurance didn't mean I sold insurance to everyone. Could I? Absolutely. But I knew who my ideal customers were. Like, what did they look like? What did their businesses look like? Who were the decision makers? What did they think like? What were the challenges outside of insurance that my ideal customers have, so that I can now speak to them? And so for everybody that's listening, whether you own a business, if you're on the podcast, I can make this relatable to podcasts. Podcasts, who's your audience and what do they want to hear, right? How do you connect with the people that you want to follow? So understanding who your ideal clients are, first and foremost. Then the second thing is, price your services or your products accordingly. So if I know that Ross Mandell's a millionaire and he'd pay $10,000 for something that someone else would pay $1,000 for, I'd rather have Ross Mandell's as my clients that would pay $10,000 for the same thing somebody else paid $1,000 for. So again, relating that to podcasts, how can I get people to share and talk about this episode, right? Like, it's great that Ross listens to it, but I want Ross to tell 10 people so that I get 10 new listeners. So understanding what's important, who your audience is. And then the third thing is having the right workflows and systems to make it happen. And that, whether that's people, whether that's technology, whether that's AI, making sure that you can press a button and everything that's supposed to happen happens, right? Again, whether that's people. And I know that there's things that happen in that process that are chaotic, right? So I'm not saying it's as simple as press a button and then you get output, but press a button and the workflow is supposed to work. The systems are supposed to system, right? Like, to me, that's the recipe for success no matter what you do. And you can get granular, specific to what your industry or what your business is, but those things, man, are, I call it common sense, but it's also why I get to charge people to help them, because the implementation is where the real strategy comes into play.
You know, I feel like, you know, a part of this mentorship that people don't understand, and you just triggered some thoughts in my mind, is that, you know, we're social creatures. People create societies. We're not all just loners. We don't all, you know, we didn't come to this country and, like, I put my stake down. I said, this is my property. And then you, Mick, you moved across the river to another. We cobbled together. We created, you know, communities, cities, towns, villages, right? We crave contact. I'll never forget, I was on Wall Street in the 80s. And guys were pitching Blockbuster Video. Wayne Huizenga came in to pitch us, 1985. And I remember thinking, this is the end of movie theaters. Why would I ever go to the movies when I could just sit home and pop in a video with my family, you know, in my house and all these different things, with all my comforts? And, you know, I'm still waiting for the movie theater to die. Now I'm home. I'm streaming 1,000 different things. I got all these movies and events and fights and games and, you know, and triple HD. You know, it's like it's like I'm there, and you can do live things, interact. I mean, there's so much crazy, and yet the theaters can be full because when you're sitting home with the woman that you do love, or you don't, like, you want to find something to do. You got to go out, right? If you're a couple and going to the movies, going to a theater with other people, dining out in a restaurant, even though you can have everything delivered in the world to your house, whether you live in a hut or whether you live in, you know, the penthouse of Trump Tower, you could have anything delivered to you instantly. And yet we still crave other people. And I think that when you're building a company, when you're running a company, it's a lonely place to be many times.
Yeah.
You have to be a certain way. You are your employees, your staff, your clients. The world looks at you, perceives you to be a certain way. But when you're a mentor, a lot of people at the top of whatever their game is? Because I noticed in your book, most of your clients were the CEO, was
Right.
the owner.
Right.
Because who do they have to talk to and bounce shit off of and say, listen, Mick, I don't really know what the fuck I'm doing. What do you
Right.
think of this and that? Because that's the reality of business. The
Right.
world perceives business owners, people, to have everything figured out.
Yeah.
When nothing could be further from the truth.
Right.
You know, until you do become systematized and have everything sorted out. So it's like clockwork, as you shared a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to figure business out. The perception is, wow, look at this. This restaurant is like, they know everybody knows exactly what they're doing. And that's the illusion. That's the facade that a good business should portray.
Yeah.
But nothing could be further from the truth. So when you're a leader of a business, CEO, COO, CFO, you know, when you're an exec, when you're in the executive suite, oftentimes it's a lonely place.
It is. And that's why I wholeheartedly believe in networks and masterminds. And again, I'm going to keep saying it, hiring people like Ross, hiring Ross directly, because you do need that. You need a lot of times, and this is what has worked for me, I need people that aren't in my business.
Correct.
To help me grow the business, because like one of my current companies, right? Love one of my VPs to death, but she's in the business purposely. So when we talk strategy, she's always going to have some hesitation or lean in the business side.
Correct.
So she's not going to think outside, and there's nothing wrong with that. I need someone like a Ross that I can talk to and say, okay, this is my challenge and this is where I'm trying to go. What are some things that I need to do? Or, hey, can you come take a look at this? Let me hire you for 90 days. You come take a look and let's then build a plan of how to fix it. And that's what a lot of executives need, because everybody on your team can't be in the business or the business is not going to grow. And I'll parallel this to something Les Brown taught me. You can't read the ingredients when you're in the box.
I love that.
Right?
Yeah, you're right. That's
Right?
That's a great line. I'm gonna borrow that.
Absolutely.
Les, I hope you don't mind. Mick said it was okay.
Mick gave the approval. Mick gave the approval. But that's what I help businesses understand. It's like, okay, you're in the box, but you're trying to see the ingredients. Well, how are you going to see the ingredients? How are you going to see the recipe? How are you going to see how to make the dish when you're an ingredient in the box? And so to me, that's the easiest parallel. And when I give that analogy to executives, they get it. And then they take themselves out with me to say, okay, now I need to make this dish. And in order to make the dish, I need to be the chef, right? I need to be the chef. So
I love that. You know, I had an experience recently with, I threw the box out and I had read it pretty carefully, except I forgot that, is it 425 bake or 425 broil? You know what I mean? And I figured it's got to be 80 to 90% bake. And I got it wrong. It was,
wow.
It was didn't come out the way I hoped. But it's funny. It's a real life thing.
So you didn't have a crusty top on it, apparently.
Correct. It was a pizza. It was a vegetarian pizza someone had gifted me. Wasn't great, by the way, but allegedly it was very healthy.
Well, when you said vegetarian, I stopped listening to you.
Right. It's ridiculous. The broccoli crust, the whole thing was like fugazi. But, you know, some people, it's a trendy thing, you know, organic, holistic, you know.
Yeah.
Now, so you've now exited your second insurance brokerage.
Mm-hmm.
And you realize that you have a gift, that you are able to help the masses, really, business people, go to another level. You're good at it. I mean, you get it. You see how things move. Yeah. So, and now you've cashed out a little bit. You're pretty thick.
Yep.
You're still young. I mean, you're vital, right?
Yes, sir.
You were what, about 36, 37? Is that something like that at the time, about 10 years ago?
The second exit just at 40.
40, okay. So that's about 7 years ago or so.
Yeah.
And you decide you're going to go and you're going to become a professional consultant, a mentor, an influencer. I'm not sure. So take us, where were you in life? You been divorced now? Were you getting, tell us about your life, Mick.
Divorced. And again, I've got this, you call it a gift. I'll take that. I just have this vision of helping businesses. And so I never do anything alone. So I started a team and someone who's been my right hand from day one at everything I've done, who's now the COO of two of my businesses, and my executive assistant. So I'm trying to fire her as COO so she can just be my executive assistant because she knows me more than anyone.
What's her name?
Chris Smith.
Chris?
Stephanie and Chris have been talking forever. Yeah.
Chris, little shout out, baby.
There you go. There you go.
Recognize greatness.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I get with Chris and I say, I'm going to start this consulting business, but I need you on the ride with me. I'm only going to do it if you're there. And then let's build a team and let's go impact businesses. Let's find the right fit for who we are, the companies that we know we can help. And I'm not social media Mick at this time, Ross. Like I'm still just consultant rolled up. Like it wasn't until a couple of years ago that I even got into social media. Like I've always had LinkedIn, but that was it. I never had Facebook. I never had Instagram, TikTok, X, none of that.
I mean, you have an enormous following. I looked carefully in preparation for this, and I was like, wow.
Yeah, but the consulting piece really started, I started consulting with insurance companies, carriers, agencies. And then I got a call from a financial institution and they were like, hey, one of our clients, an insurance carrier, said we should talk to you. And so I worked with one of the big four banks as a consultant to help them with marketing strategies. And then they introduced me to one of the top credit card financial institutions to help them with social media strategy.
Fantastic.
And I was like, you all know I don't do social media, but I understand the premise of what works. Like, it's just, I don't do it. And so that is when I said, okay, I'm starting this podcast. I have this very large client that's paying me a lot of money to help them with social media. The things that I'm telling them, I should just implement to make sure that it's actually working too, exactly. Right? Like it's one thing to have an idea that it works because you do it with other people, but let me show everybody that the things that I teach people actually will work for you as well too. And so that's where the social media side of what I had going on. Like I understood with podcasting, there are things that you can do for visibility. There are things that you can do to let social media be your publicist. Ross, I'm going to say something that most people are not going to agree with, but you know how you and I talk. I don't care what other people think, right?
Exactly.
You do not need a marketing budget anymore. What you need is a publicity budget. And whether you're hiring a PR firm or you're investing in your own social media, marketing is going to connect you with the same people that know you, right? So, Ross, if I have a 1,000-person email list, marketing only goes to those same 1,000 people. So at the end of the day, that number's only going to go down because people are going to unsubscribe, right? I don't care who it is. I unsubscribe from my best friend's stuff all the time. And I tell them I do it, but that's marketing. Marketing gets you in front of the people that already know you. You're sending things to people that know you. Publicity, PR, visibility is someone else saying these things for you.
Correct.
And that's what you need to invest in. And I figured that out a few years ago. And I said, this is the path now. Like, you don't need a marketing budget. I don't care what people tell you. You need a visibility budget. Visibility is the currency for our new society, right? It used to be, Ross, when you released a product or a service, you wanted it to be perfect. You know what you want to do now, Ross? You want to be first because you can get perfect. You can get perfect. You want to be first, right? Like, don't think the reason that ChatGPT is so popular is because they were first. There's other things.
Amazon first.
Right. They were first.
Google first.
Right.
I get it.
But when you're first, you become the bar And people aren't going to trust second place unless you mess up. And so that's what I teach people now, as a part of like your brand and your visibility. Be first. Like, you want to say the thing first. You want to create the new social clip strategy first. You want to be the person that people mimic, or I don't want to say mimic, but you want to be the person that people look at and like, oh, I can do that too, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But that's how things change. And so the last couple of years, that's where I'm at. That's where I've been at now. It's, you see the social media side of me, because my kids said, Dad, when we Google you, all we see is insurance stuff. And you do so many cool things. You talk to Damon John, you talk to Robert Irvine, you hang out with Gary Vee. Like, you do all these really cool things. You should talk about it. And the person that I am was like, no, that's egotistical. I don't want to do that. But then I realized, though, that that's validation, right? Like, that's how people validate you now. Like, they're gonna go research you. You talked about researching me. 68% of the time when people are looking at you on social media, they're doing it for research. Wow. They're not doing it to be nosy in your business. They're making sure that you're a brand that they can do business with. And people need to understand that. And so that's what I help a lot of companies with. And that's a part of the scaling strategy, is how do you incorporate social media? So for me, social media the last couple of years with starting the podcast has kind of been my thing.
I think that was just brilliant. It was just a brilliant soliloquy. I want you to know that. I had a conversation yesterday with a NASDAQ company, biotech company, no liquidity in the stock. They're doing amazing things, literally curing cancer in many cases. Yeah. And at a price, inexpensive. And nobody cares. And I'm like, it's not that nobody cares. It's that you don't care. He was offended. You where you're at because of decisions you've made. Yeah. Let me tell you, I never heard of your company. I got a call Sunday at home. Can I help? And I took a look, and I called my two closest friends and partners that are very market savvy. Everybody's retired. Everybody's a millionaire. Mm-hmm. I said, take professional investors. I said, take a look. I didn't give them any. I just said, what do you think of this company? Take a look. They came back and said, nothing. We don't think nothing of it. Because the mistake the company's made is marketing to the same old people that know the same old things that would know, and the world's changed. Right. They have no social media. No social media strategy. Yeah. I mean, he goes, yeah, but we do this and we do that. And so yesterday I spoke to the CEO for an hour. And you're telling me to look here, look there. I don't want to look here and there. It should be like this. Right. When I looked up Mick Hunt, whoa. Right. Forbes, leadership. Right. Meta, Instagram. Yeah. YouTube. You're a house, bro. And
it just like that. When I realized it's not marketing anymore. It's visibility.
Visibility. It's a different world today. Yeah. You don't need CBS or NBC. We talked about Tyler Perry at the beginning before we went live, right? Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'll never forget. I forget when it was, but someone introduced me to Tyler Perry. This is the beginning. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? They're like, who the hell is this guy? Oprah Winfrey, billionaire, Atlanta. He built studios. He did this. He writes books. And I was like, whoa. Yeah. But I'm just saying, things change in the world. Things change in business. Right. And you should try to be first if you can. But if not, you got to at least be aware of what's going on within an industry that's your industry. When I looked at the podcasting industry, your name came up. Brad Lee's name came up. Yeah. I was like, who's this guy? What's his rap? Yeah. What does he do? And so I applaud you, bro, for the you have very quietly and calmly chosen an industry that you felt you wanted to be in, You're a grown man, and you're not 20
Yeah.
anymore, but
Yeah.
you're not 70.
Yeah.
And an industry that would appreciate your gifts and talents.
No, I appreciate it. And talking about podcasting now, again, anyone with the mic can have a podcast now. There's 5 million genres that you can choose to be in. Right. So for me, it was, what did I want to do? What did I want to talk about? And again, it was that concept of because. Like Simon Sinek did a great thing of start with why, but that was many, many, many years ago. And I think you're actually fueled by your because. And you and I talked about your because on my show. Right. And so every show we talk about my guest and their because, but the podcast industry allows you to have the conversations that you want to have. Is there some strategy for you to make it successful, to keep the visibility there? Absolutely. There are a lot of things that you should do. And there's things that I learned. Like, I'm not going to say I got it right out of the gate. I'm not even going to say I continue to get it right, but I'm always learning. I'm always looking at data, and I'm always getting the feedback from the people that matter the most to me. And I tweak the things that we do behind the scenes, and getting ready to start a network to help people understand that too, because this is the new format. This is the new thing. And you talk about visibility. There's nothing that stops you. It's not a part of the FCC. You can say what you want. You can interview who you want. You can do what you want today.
Right. We got a few years yet, but it'll be regulated eventually.
It will be at some point. They're trying to figure it out.
But that's the magic right now. It's unregulated. Yeah. AI is going to allow all your content, Mick, to be seen by 8 billion people in the language, in their native language. That's going to be coming in 2026.
Exactly.
Why would you want to be in any other industry?
Why?
8 billion people are going to get to see Mick Unplugged if they choose.
Yeah.
In Swahili, in Urdu, in Farsi, in Hindi, in Mandarin, in their home language. When they turn on their phone, it'll be recommended. You get these recommended things on Instagram, on my feed. It says, for you, it says, and I look at it, I say, I follow or I don't follow. But I do listen to what they recommend at this point because they're smarter than I am.
Yeah.
They know more about me than I know about me. It's all math.
It's scary.
It's scary, but I appreciate it. I do. I love the evolution of things, and I love, my favorite word is next and all that. Yeah. So now let me just get back to this. So you made this decision. You're essentially going to be a professional mentor, right? Like a mercenary, but a guy that delivers. That's who you are.
Correct.
And I'm going to testify to that. That's who you are.
Yes.
You're a high value guy, bro. And you deliver results, and you're authentic, you're serious minded, and I cannot give more accolades to a fellow man. You now put together a team.
Yes.
You organize a podcast.
Correct.
By the way, your name Mick Unplugged is fantastic.
Thank you.
And now you've achieved a level. I mean, I think Apple rates you in the top 3 in the world, something to that effect. Yep. I mean, you're really up there, because I've cracked into this little arena all of a sudden, and some people have discovered me, and I look up at the chart and I see Mick Unplugged up there, my brother from another mother. And,
yes,
I couldn't be more excited for you or for me and all these different things. But now... And now you've achieved this already, and it continues, right? You'll be in, I said, over 100 languages in 160 countries this coming year, in the next 12 months. Yeah. And I expect people all over the world are going to plug into you, bro. I mean that, and deservedly so. And
I appreciate that.
And now you're going to the next level even. You're going to help people that don't have sort of the resources or new to the game, because you've now spent a few years, at least almost 2 years, right, since 24, since you started, trying to get advertisers and sponsors and understanding all the different YouTube and Spotify and Apple and the different platforms, correct? So you're going to, you're going to offer a back end solution if people don't have, I have John, my Sicilian consigliere sitting in the room with me. He's my director, and I got Stephanie, and I got Nelson. I got people that organize my stuff and produce it, but not everybody has that.
Not everyone has that, and we can be honest, Ross. That also costs, right? Like people want to be paid. We should want to pay people. We should want to support families, right? And so I'm starting Unplugged Studios because I do want to give back. I do want to help the two years ago version of me that I just want to start a podcast. I don't know what it means. It's cool. Oh, wait, you can make money? Well, how do you make money? Oh, well, how do advertisers find your show? Oh, well, how do you know that it's the right deal from an advertiser perspective? Oh, wait, like I need social media clips and highlights, and I need to push that out, and I need to edit content a little bit different on Instagram than I do YouTube, than I do X, than I do LinkedIn. Like understanding all those things that matter, that drive visibility, which in the podcast space is listens, right? That's driving listens to your show, that then advertisers are like, oh, okay, this show does 50,000 downloads a month, 100,000 downloads a month. We want to be a partner with this person. And so Unplugged Studios is going to be a few things, but more importantly, we want to help podcasters with strategies to monetize, right? First and foremost, that's what we want to do. And then, by the way, if you do need help with the back end structure, with the production, with the organization, we can do that too. We've already got a built-in team of editors, of filtering through guests, cycling guests. Like I think a great podcast community. If Ross is on my show, Ross should be on the other 10 shows that are there. Like being able to have that collaboration, because Ross, it's hard to filter through the guests, right? But if I go to Ross and say, hey, I vetted this person, you should definitely have them on your show. Here's the topic that they talk about.
Correct.
It saves your team time, right? And so those are the things. And honestly, there are, like, Ross and I are different because we know cool people and can have cool people on our show, right? Not saying that everybody has to be a celebrity or a cool person or have a great story, but if you can be in a circle with Ross and I, and then we've got a very cool, famous, somewhat famous guest that now can be on your show that amplifies your show. Correct. Why wouldn't you want to be a part of that? Right. And so we want to be able to provide that too, and just give podcasters, whether you're seasoned or just starting, a place that monetization strategies are there. And it's a true community of good podcasters. And oh, by the way, we do it well enough, and then a Sirius or iHeart comes and acquires us.
Yeah, and it's really it's the obvious future. So Unplugged Studios, are we live with that yet? Are we in business?
We're going live January 1.
Very cool. So okay, good. I could be one of the first contributing
contract
members.
Coming your way for review. How about that?
All of this stuff. We're going to talk about that. We've already agreed off camera. Not that there's any secrets here, but
no.
I think that's a great. I think that I know the man that is sitting here right now, and that has revealed himself in this fantastic book, and even more so today. I really appreciated you filling in the story that that sort of you describe in the opening, and it makes a lot of sense to me. And the evolution of this podcast of yours, Mick Unplugged, you're on every platform, correct? YouTube, Spotify, Apple, everywhere.
Yes,
one of
sir.
the top, literally in the top 5 in the world, or top 10. I know it varies depending on uploads, downloads, and who's doing what, but still one of the top in the world. And so you have managed this with the same sort of determination and alacrity you've had in your insurance business and your business of evolving your own life. Now, one of the things I've seen is that Forbes did a nice piece on you, and you're a member of the Business Council and the leadership. Talk about that for a minute. I know you don't love bragging. But let me brag for you. As somebody that's been in Forbes, and had 10 stories written, it's always a big deal.
Yeah. like 3 or 4 years ago, as I started talking more about emotional intelligence and how to ingrain that into businesses, into your leadership practices, and then also how to evolve with modern employees, right? Like when we think of the word modern, we tend to think young, but all of us are modernized, right? Like all of us shop on Amazon, right? All of us probably stream TV now, and those are things we didn't do a while. So Forbes came to me and said, "You're the voice of modern leadership." And I said, "Okay," but that was the deal with Forbes. It was how do we take leadership into this modern world where people have different values? You know, Ross, when I was growing up, and I'm sure you too, it was all about getting the pension or the 401k. And if you got a job, like you wanted to stay there forever. Yeah. Well, the modern employee, bro, they don't care about a pension. They don't care about a 401k. They want to know that they have value. And oh, by the way, I'm probably out in 2 years because I'm trying to learn more. I'm trying to grow. Right. And so I don't want to be at a company I can't fathom doing the same thing every day for 40 years. And so if we know that that's what the modern employee craves and desires, how do we build our companies with modern principles? And so that's what the Forbes piece has been about. And so on the business council, I work with Fortune 500 companies on modern leadership principles, modern employee engagement. You'd be surprised at how many Fortune 500 companies have now started to change just their view. Like we used to do resumes. We don't even do resumes anymore. No. I was like, I've gotten rid of resume interviews and resume deep dives. And, you know, we don't necessarily care about positions anymore. We care about people because I can train you for the position that you need. And so right. I work with a lot of, you know, Forbes and I work with businesses to understand people. We do that a lot to understand what do you look for? How do you tell your business story better? How do you articulate your core values? How are you transparent with the vision of the company? So, you know, that was Forbes, been in Fortune, Inc., and all those places, but it started with Forbes labeling me the voice of modern leadership.
I mean, that's a big deal, bro. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Congratulations. You know,
Thank you.
And it's well deserved. They picked the right guy, and you know, I get it. You know, I understand a lot more now. That's the value of having a podcast, is I get to meet great guys like you and ask you all kinds of personal questions.
There you go. There you go. 5'9", 240, but going down.
Exactly. Well, you know, it's the funny thing is when you podcast with people, right? They're sitting down, like we're sitting down, right?
Yeah, you don't know.
Right. I had a guy that you know on my podcast in the very beginning, and I'm looking at him, and I knew he played in the NFL, Marcus Ogden.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I said, bro, how tall are you? It's like,
right.
6'7", 350.
Right.
I made him stand up. I've made guys take their shirt off on the show, you know, because I'm like, let me see what you got. You know, I had Steve Kuklo in here, Jay Can. You know, it's really a funny thing. But Marcus, it doesn't give that impression on camera.
Not at all.
And when he stands up, he's like this giant. I mean, literally a giant, not figuratively. I mean, he's like a beast and a lovely guy. And I know that he's a fan of yours because you know, I looked at all your comments and I see Marcus Ogden there, and I said, wow, what a sweetheart. One of the nicest
Marcus
people.
He's one of my guys. He's definitely in my circle. And yeah, we just have this rule. We can't take photos together. We took like 2 photos together one time, and I was like, bro, like I'm already short, but now I'm like
they got to be like sitting down, man. He's got to be like in a restaurant, you know. Marcus sit.
Right.
Fucking, you know, he's a real beast of a guy.
Yeah.
But you know, so you've managed to evolve, you know, in business as much as you are helping other businesses.
Yeah.
You're evolving as a businessman yourself. And,
we have to.
Well, you know, not everybody does. I know a guy since he's a teenager. Sunday night was invited to a private birthday party at a big fancy country club here in Boca Raton. And his name is Jonathan. I hadn't seen the guy in 40 years. But, you know, he was a very crafty guy. He was like this ticket broker, real hustler type. always making money, and when Manhattan Cable TV came into being and they decided to cable up all of New York City. Can you imagine the cabling up all of New York City in the 80s?
Mm-hmm.
He knew a guy and he put in a bid, made up some stuff, got this contract, tens of millions of dollars in the 80s. Went out and figured out a way to get like 40 trucks and get guys putting cable in. And he's just made an enormous amount of money quickly and basically bought it to a country club in South Florida, made some investments, and basically playing golf for the last 37 years.
There you go.
And he's tried some different things.
Yeah.
But I guess his heart wasn't into it. I'm not quite sure. He's humble. And he's, he hasn't evolved, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, I think now, and I hate when people say or use the term stuck. You're going to be in molasses with the access of AI, the access and the new protocols and technology that are continuing to be built, robotics that are doing crazy cool things. I think if you're a leader, if you're an entrepreneur, you've got to invest in yourself into learning, or at least someone on your team or your teams that are invested into learning and seeing the new things that are coming. Because I can be honest and transparent, I'm smarter today because of AI, right? Not saying that AI does my stuff. It's just I can ask questions and get it the way that I want it because AI knows me too. So it now knows how to take information and give it to me so that I understand it,
100%.
right? Like, that's crazy cool. I can take my intellectual property, build an AI brain, and ask questions about myself, right? Like, if we're not doing these things today, then you need to retire and go enjoy the tropical islands and job well done because you deserved it. Right.
Go to a beach and drink. Right.
Right. You've deserved it. But if you're continuing to grow, enhance, build, we've never had a time like this to make those things possible. I mean, we're reading all the time, and I'm not saying I'm a fan of this, but it just reveals where we're going. Every week we're hearing about a company that's letting 1,000 people go, 10,000 people go, 100,000 people go because AI and technology have replaced those things. And so as a human now, you need to make sure that you're embracing AI because those who are not are the ones that are being replaced.
You're in trouble.
Right? There's always going to be a human connection that humans need. But at the end of the day, Ross, we're going to do this podcast and God forbid someone manually edits this podcast, right? Like there's AI that can do a bunch of this stuff for us, whether we want to believe it or not. It can be there for us. There's AI that can schedule my guests and do all the follow-up. I don't have to do those things. So we've got to look at who we are, and that's why I continue to evolve. Like I don't want to be the person that has to find out the hard way.
You have evolved very successfully, is what I want to say to you, and I'm so proud of you. And I feel like there's a lot we're going to do together going down the road.
Yes, sir.
I just expect the biggest things from Mick. I think we've covered a lot of ground today.
Yes.
You have just become a beast in the podcasting world. You're a stud in the social media world. You're like an Einstein of business and leadership. Of our day and age. And I'm just thinking, is there anything we haven't touched on today that you'd like to share?
No, I just want to continue to give kudos to you, man. Like I told you when we recorded our podcast last year of just what you mean to me because you're such a giver. And you are one of the sharpest minds that I know. And so I just want everybody that's watching this, listening.
Thank you.
Again, continue to stay in touch with Ross, be a part of his communities, be a part of his programs, because he's talked a lot about my success today, but I can promise you a lot of those pieces came from Ross Mandell.
You're very, very kind. I always like to end the podcast with a question. I mean, you're only 47. You're like a child. You know, 47 is like the new 27 today because of
My hips don't feel that though.
peptides. And we got all kinds of things coming, stem cells, injections. You're not
Right.
going to have any more pains. In another
Right.
5 years, they say 10 years, you'll be able to live to 120. There's all kinds of things coming. They're going to shoot you up with nanoparticles and everything's going to be fixed from the inside out. I mean, there's great things coming. And, but where's Mick Hunt going to be 5 years from today? 5 years from it's 2030. Where's Mick Hunt going to be?
In 2030, man, I want to be with my closest circle that includes Ross Mandell.
Thank you.
And us continuing to figure out how we continue to make impact in the world. So where that is physically, I don't know, but my vision is never about me doing anything alone. Like, I want to continue to elevate people. I want to continue to be resourceful for people. And I want to continue to make impact, man.
You are the man. You're the myth. You're a legend. Mick Hunt, thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate that.
Thank you for having me, brother.